Long before there were pharmacies, there were healers. Mothers, fathers, and neighbors who turned to the earth for wellness. Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Each week we explore the plants, traditions, and time-honored remedies that connect us to that ancient wisdom, so you can bring it into your modern life.
Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast. So I screwed up, and I figured, this would be a good thing to talk about on the podcast. A couple weeks ago, I hit the bottom. I was in bed, achy, feverish, not feeling good, really couldn't breathe, really stuffed up, had a headache, and I had gone the wrong route. So basically what happened, if you've listened to the podcast over the years or you know me, you know that March is my nemesis. March comes around and the allergies are just horrible. So I woke up on a Saturday morning and was going to do some stuff with some business colleagues and some friends. And I was feeling kind of and I had a slight headache. So I'm like, you know what? If I just take a whole bunch of Hayaz, it's just allergies. My nose was really, really running, had a lot of I'm like, it's allergies. It's March, it's allergies. I'll take Hayaz and I'll be fine. I'll get up and go. Well, as the day went on, it just kind of got worse. And I'm like, I'm just not getting enough Hayaz. I'll take some more Hayaz. So later in the day, I need more Hayaz. So I took more Hayaz. And over the years, you think I'd know this by now, but I totally missed it. Anytime anything like that happens, allergies, and your body's overwhelmed, infection can creep in, or infection could be the cause. So the infection was the flu. Me and a couple of my other friends basically were all down with the flu at the same time. Somehow we all ended up with it. And because I was like, hey, Hayaz will take care of it. Hayaz kept the runny nose from getting out of control and all of the sinus stuff and everything, but it didn't do anything for the flu. And that's where I made my mistake. If you're anywhere on the fence, slightly thinking that it could be the flu, could not be the flu, take Fection along with your Hayaz. Basically, if it is allergies, it's going to tax your system to the point where you're going to want Fection anyway. So just add the Fection anyway. So there is a difference between allergies and the flu. With allergies, you don't tend to be tired. I mean, there's a lack of air and you're not getting enough oxygen. So you're finding it harder to breathe. But when you've got the flu, it hammers your system. You're really tired. It's a different kind of headache. It's not a sinus headache. It's an all over kind of headache. You basically want to attack it from both ends. And the thing about the flu is because it's attacking everywhere, it's got the allergies that I thought I had, that I was taking a whole bunch of Hayaz for, dropped into my lungs. Basically, if I had paid attention, done what I needed to do, and taken Fection from the get-go, it probably would not have gotten down into my lungs. I was basically in bed for 4 days because I was already sick for over a day with the flu, and I didn't do anything for that. I just kept throwing Hayaz at it. And, Hayaz helps, but it's like using a hose on a fire when you need a fire hose. You really want to get everything in there. So once I realized it was the flu by Saturday night, Sunday morning, I was like, this is not allergies. This is a flu or something. So I started taking Fection along with the Hayaz, but by then it started to migrate into my lungs. So then I needed to take Monia and Flem Up to help clear it out. And you can still hear I'm still kind of wheezing and everything. And I was actually in Utah to help my daughter. She was moving from one house to another house, and she had a flight of stairs, and just doing the stairs wore me out. And, that should have been another sign that there was something else going on. So with allergies, itchy eyes, sneezing, it's your body trying to prevent that from getting in. So you'll have a clear discharge when it comes to the mucus coming out of your nose. But usually with allergies, you can still get up and kind of do things. With the flu, you've got body aches everywhere, a fever, fatigue. You're easily drained. Basically, you're just, someone once said it's kind of like it's letting the air out of tires slowly while the train runs you over. I mean, it just knocks you down. So, what did I learn from this? Allergies or not, take Fection. You don't want it to drop into the lungs like this one did on me. So, another thing to think about, like when it's a flu like that, your body's dealing with a lot of toxic load. So, adding Bladney in also will really help clear out the kidneys and kind of keep the toxic load that's coming from being sick. The Fection is moving. It kind of like empties out what the Fection's moving. And lots of water. I was drinking a lot of water because allergies dry everything out from the body. But, for whenever we talk about anything, water is really, really essential to good health and rest. Like I said, I was down for 4 days and I just pretty much was down. I kept pushing through, taking Hayaz. It's like, it's going to work. It'll be fine. But Hayaz, I just have to get enough in me to get through it. And it was kind of funny because a few days because I was in Utah, I was not in New Mexico. My son that was here in New Mexico covering the office for me, he's like, I feel so horrible. And I'm like, oh, take Fection and Hayaz. It's going to like kick your butt and it's going to be horrible. And he's like, and he's not wonderful about taking herbs, but he will take them when it comes down to it. So he took Hayaz, and then he like calls me 15, 20 minutes later, and he's like, oh, it made me my stomach and made me feel like I was going to throw up and stuff. And he's like, but then 10 minutes after that, he felt great. And the reason he was going to vomit, that it made him feel nauseous. And it's something really important to remember with Hayaz, but with any other of the herbs, especially Hayaz. If you're taking Hayaz, that means you've got allergies. Allergies suck not the allergies, but your body has to suck water from everywhere it can to put up the defense. So you've got itchy eyes are watery. The mucous membranes in the nasal passages are producing extra mucus, so it's sucking your water from everywhere. So you really want to be adding water. So by taking the Hayaz, he's throwing into his stomach something that needs water to be digested and to be made into the herbs that your body can use. And because he was already dehydrated from allergies and then adding that on, that's when the body's like, wait, we can't cope with all of this. We got to get rid of something. And that's when we vomit from dehydration. So it's really, really important if you're taking Hayaz or any of the other herbs, if it makes you feel kind of queasy or nauseous or anything like that, you're not drinking enough water. Add more water. Water is really, really essential. The way Dr. James would explain it is 1 capsule is like a cup of tea. So if you're taking 1 capsule, drink 8 ounces of water. 2 capsules, 16 ounces of water. So he would sometimes say, was it the herbs or was it just the more water that they're drinking? And he's like, I don't care. The fact that they're getting more water in them is really, really important. Okay, so what I did, I took Hayaz thinking I'm going to push through this. I'll be just fine. But I didn't until it knocked me flat on my butt. Another friend of mine was down for 2 or 3 days, and he's like, so what do I do? He's just finding out about our herbs and stuff. And so I'm like, I had to give him some of the herbs, the Fection and the Monia, to help him deal with this flu, because it was nasty for both of us. And I had the tools and he didn't. I ended up just as sick as him because I didn't use the tools. So it's really important to have that toolbox. Because once I started taking, the formulas, I to rebuild my lungs and everything, we're both back up on our feet, getting moving and stuff. But I'm still taking Fection and Monia and and Flem Up, just because I'm still suffering from the effects of having that flu. And if I had done it earlier, I probably would not have been as bad as I am. So why am I telling you this story? Well, basically it comes down to pay attention to your body. I probably had all the signs that this was the flu, and I just wanted to take Hayaz and just push on through, keep going. It'll be fine. I had all sorts of things going on, and I'm like, I don't want to end up in bed. I'll be fine. It's I had the tools. I knew which tools I needed, and I used a crescent wrench when I needed a hammer. It works, but not real well. So, pay attention to your body, look for the signals that are there so that you can see what you've got coming and see how to deal with it. So if you haven't noticed, we've added a new assessment tool to the website. It's called Help Me Choose. It makes it easier to find the herbs that you need and to help you get the herbs that you need in your body. And remember the formulas. Hayaz for allergies and anything upper respiratory. Fection, anytime any flu, infection, virus, anything like that. Fection is really, really important. If it gets bad, you got to clean up afterwards, the system. So Bladney, Liv Clean, anything like that. Monia also really helps, especially if it gets down into the lungs. Like for me, it's, I'm still dealing with a lot of mucus and things in my lungs. So I'm taking Monia just to strengthen my lungs because they were weakened. So I hope this has helped you to think about the tools that you have in your arsenal to help you deal with different illnesses and diseases that come upon us, so that you don't have to get so bad that you're in bed for 3 or 4 days. It was great sharing this with you, and I will talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Visit drugfreehelpstore.com to download your free Healer in Every Home guidebook and explore herbal formulas that support your health naturally. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves natural living as much as you do. Thanks for joining us, and remember, true healing starts at home.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.